This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it.
There's going to be a lot of people in my party that are going to disagree with the strike in Iran, and I actually support that. I've been always calling for that thing. I think it was entirely appropriate.
That bill doesn't just have dollars in it to build a wall, which it will.
Border security, we've seen reports highlighting what Secretary Noem called many wins.
Ah, yes, in what she rather strikingly termed the one big beautiful bill.
That bill doesn't just have dollars in it to build a wall, which it will. It'll have over $46 billion in it, not just to continue building infrastructure wall, but to give us the surveillance and technology that we need to truly secure the border and every border, not just our southern, but our northern, our maritime borders as well.
Quite a name. So what's actually in this beautiful bill?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. First off, there's a significant money dedicated specifically to the border wall. That continues to be a central piece.
Okay, the wall funding, what else?
Personnel, big time. The bill commits to hiring an extra 5,000 Customs and Border Protection officers, CBP officers.
Stacked out in CBP.
And on top of that, 3,000 more Border Patrol agents.
So that's 8,000 combined right there for CBP and Border Patrol.
Exactly. And then an additional, this is a big number, 10,000 new Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, ICE officers.
10,000. Wow, that's a massive increase for ICE.
It is. And it doesn't stop there. The bill also includes doubling detention capacity and, interestingly, bonuses for agents who are, on the front lines.
So you put all that together, the wall money, these huge personnel increases across CBP, Border Patrol, ICE, doubling detention, the bonuses. What does that tell you? What's the core priority here?
I mean, it points very clearly towards enforcement and physical control of the border. The idea seems to be deterrence through just sheer capacity and manpower.
Right. Boots on the ground, space to hold people, physical barriers.
It really frames border control as fundamentally a national security issue, prioritizing that physical presence and enforcement capability above all else.
A very clear signal indeed. Okay, let's pivot now. From domestic policy to a major international event, Operation Midnight Hammer.
Yes, this was a significant development. We're talking about a U.S. military strike.
Against whom?
Against Iran's nuclear facilities, directly targeting those sites.
And the stated reason?
The stated aim was pretty blunt. Neutralize Iran's potential nuclear threat. The idea being that this would help, stabilize the Middle East in the longer run.
So a very direct, targeted military action.
Extremely targeted, focused on removing specific nuclear capabilities.
Now, what's really jumped out from the reports on this is the level of support it received back here, even bipartisan support, which is rare these days.
That's true. It was quite striking. You had Senator Joni Ernst, for instance, praising the move. She said it was about securing our future and making sure future generations are safe from an Iranian nuclear threat.
Thank you, Mr. President, for securing our future and making sure that future generations are safe from a nuclear threat coming out of Iran.
She also mentioned wanting a strong, prosperous, and safe Middle East.
Right. And then, maybe more surprisingly, you had Senator John Fetterman weighing in.
Yeah, what did he say?
He apparently said he actually supports that action and that he'd, quote, always been calling for that thing. He called the strike entirely appropriate.
There's going to be a lot of people in my party that are going to disagree with the strike in Iran, and I actually support that. I've been always calling for that thing. I think it was entirely appropriate.
Ernst and Fetterman on the same page on this. Why do you think this specific action managed to bridge that political gap?
Well, it suggests that the perception of the threat, the immediacy, the severity of Iran potentially getting nuclear weapons, was shared across at least parts of the political spectrum.
An existential threat focus, maybe?
Perhaps. When it's framed that way, and there's a specific action proposed, sometimes those usual divides can narrow, at least for a moment. The administration certainly framed it starkly.
How?
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put it very directly. She said, America is much safer today.
This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it. The country is a safer place today because of the president's bold action.
Specifically because of President Trump's bold action to obliterate Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Strong language. Obliterate.
Very strong. And she explicitly contrasted it with previous administrations. Said past presidents wanted to do it but didn't have the, quote, guts.
Implying hesitation or weakness in the past.
That was clearly the implication.
Yeah.
And she wrapped it up by saying, peace through strength is back under President Trump. That classic Reagan-era phrase.
Right. Now, there was also a procedural element mentioned. The White House apparently made calls beforehand.
Yes, they made bipartisan calls to congressional leadership before the strike happened. Just giving them a heads up.
Including Democrats.
They tried.
We did make bipartisan calls. The White House made calls to congressional leadership. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached.
They attempted to reach House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, but the report said he was unavailable at that specific moment.
Interesting. So what about after the strike? They hit the facilities. Then what? Is it just military force, or is there a diplomatic angle too?
Well, according to Press Secretary Leavitt, even after destroying those capabilities, the U.S. is still interested in a peaceful diplomatic solution.
So the door isn't completely shut on talks.
Apparently not, but she also added a kind of condition or message. She suggested that if the Iranian regime doesn't go for diplomacy, then the Iranian people should, quote, take away the power of this incredibly violent regime.
The president believes the Iranian people can control their own destiny. Why shouldn't the Iranian people take away the power of this incredibly violent regime that has been suppressing them?
Placing the onus on the Iranian people themselves.
Seems like it, while also stating that the fundamental U.S. posture has not changed. It suggests a strategy of, military pressure combined with an openness to talk, but on American terms. Coercive diplomacy, maybe.
Okay, so we've looked at the sweeping border security bill. Massive funding, huge personnel increases.
Right, focused on enforcement and control.
And then this very decisive military operation, Operation Midnight Hammer, targeting Iran's nuclear program, which got some surprising bipartisan nods.
Yeah, aimed at neutralizing a specific threat through direct action.
Two really significant events, domestically and internationally.
Absolutely. And maybe the interesting thing for you listening is to think about how these connect, if they do. Is there a kind of unified strategic approach you can see?
Like the focus on strong enforcement at home.
And that peace through strength posture abroad, using military action decisively when deemed necessary. Does it feel like part of a consistent philosophy?
And what does that cross-party agreement on the Iran strike tell us? Does it suggest some threats are now viewed as so urgent they transcend normal politics?
Yeah, lots to think about there. How these pieces fit together in the bigger picture of national security.
Definitely some powerful ideas to consider as you process all this. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. We really encourage you to keep digging into the nuances here and what it all might mean moving forward.